what role does humility play in forgiveness?
Huge role for me and my how I process forgiving. When someone has done something, or when I have done something that I'm holding on to, I always come to this point in the process where I think about, man, God is perfect and so loving and so kind and so gracious and merciful. And more, I can't think of a time where anybody has done something to me that I have not done to God or in spite of God some type of way. And if God, and as big and wonderful and perfect as he is, can like keep forgiving me and keep reminding me, hey, you're just a human and I know that and I created you and I still love you and I'm not going to hold that, then who am I to hold something?
For me, humility, one, will help me to recognize that what are the things that I might not be seeing about this situation that I'm not seeing in this current moment. Maybe the situation is not what I thought it was, or maybe it's more than what I thought it was. Maybe their impact doesn't necessarily match their intent. The impact that it's had on me doesn't match the actual intention that they may have been having.
All right. Okay. So let me turn the sound off. All right. So we're gonna start you back up again, Eric. All right.
It was great. It's fine.
That was practice.
All right. We're gonna
That was
start again.
practice. All right. Can you all hear me? How's that?
Say how's the sound now?
How's the sound going on? Can you all hear me?
Okay,
Great. So let's go. So our topic on tonight is the best of times and the worst of times. This title comes from that famed and talented author by the name of Charles Dickens. In his book, A Tale of Two Cities, Dickens wrestles with the truth of the times in which he was alive. During the writing of his book, it was the age of wisdom and, as he says, the age of foolishness. It was the time when humanity was making great advancements and technological achievements in the world, but it was also a time that was filled with suffering and challenges for humanity. The truth is that the times in which we currently live is very much like this quote by Dickens. We live in a time where many of us have found economic and career success, but we also live in a time where our civil rights are being dismantled. We live in a time where we are progressing in life and seeing God move in ways, but we're also living in a time where those who are marginalized are ignored, people are mistreated, and immoral and unethical behaviors are widely accepted and even encouraged. The truthfully existing in this time is difficult. Finding joy in this time seems challenging. Honestly, hoping in God for better days just seems hard, because every time we turn on the news, it's just one thing after another that seems to make us question, God, where are you? Therefore, this topic is about the reality of holding multiple things together at this time. On this CAYA, we're going to name the things that are making life difficult for young adults and the community. We're going to address the difficulty of life and also seek to express hope for better circumstances in the future. Therefore, we're going to talk about lament. We're going to lament everything that's going on systemically and personally. We're going to talk about the importance of lament, how when we lament, that's our expression of hope unto God. We're going to talk about the effects of hustle culture and the importance of self-care, namely because those are the things that's not only affecting us young adults, but it's also affecting you. All of us are suffering right now because of hustle culture, whether we know it or not. And all of us can do better on being unapologetic about our self-care. So it's our goal in this CAYA to not become insensitive or numb to all that is going on in your life and world. And we want to speak to the importance of hope, to enjoying life, and practicing self-care so that we can become the healthy and whole human beings that God desires for us to be. So are you all ready for this topic on tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's dig in. So we're gonna start off with the teaching moment, because one thing that's I think that's very impactful when we open up the Bible for a lot of people are when we read the Psalms. In the book, The Spirituality of the Psalms, theologian Walter Brueggemann explains the nature of the Psalms. The Psalms both reflect the experience of the Israelites in the Bible, and it reveals their honest feelings about their situation. In his book, Brueggemann also describes how the Psalms affect or reflects the phases or the seasons of our lives. The Psalms helps us to understand the complexity of life. They help us to understand what it means to be a human and what a relationship with God looks like. In this book, Brueggemann reveals that there are three types of Psalms: the Psalms of orientation, the Psalms of disorientation, and the Psalms of new or reorientation. So let's start with the Psalms of orientation. Then we're going to have some discussion about how these Psalms are kind of how it speaks to us or what it reveals about life. So the Psalms of orientation are the praise Psalms. One example of this Psalm is Psalm 8. In Psalm 8, the writer says, "O Lord, our sovereign, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens." Psalms like these, like Psalm 8, the writer is praising, adoring, and exalting God. Things are going well for the psalmist. God has defeated all of the enemies. God has made ways, opened doors, provided for the people, sustained them. Ultimately, it's kind of that area and phase of life where you're feeling all of God's blessings. There's nothing going wrong, everything going good. You're kind of at that time of life when you paid the car off and before the car start acting up, right? You're at that sweet spot. And then you get to the Psalms of disorientation. An example of Psalms of disorientation would be Psalm 13. Psalm 13 asks, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me?" Psalms such as Psalm 13 and the Psalms of disorientation are called lament psalms. These psalms reveal to people's sorrow and grief. They express frustration with God's seemingly inactivity. The writer feels that God is absent and that defeat is inevitable. In these psalms, nothing good is happening in one's life, right? One wants God to move powerfully, but one is not seeing a change in one's situation. It's these psalms are when the bad report come from the doctor. These psalms are when the job lets you go. These psalms are for our government workers who are forced to go to work and not know when another paycheck is going to come. And because of that, they have to now stand in lines to receive food from food banks. It's that we need God to do something so that our situation can change. And then we have the Psalms of new orientation or reorientation. These are the Psalms of thanksgiving. One example of a Psalm of thanksgiving is Psalm 30. The Psalm says, "I will extol you, O Lord, for you have drawn me. You did not let my foes rejoice over me. O Lord, my God, I cried to you for help, and you have healed me." And then here's where we love to quote this Psalm. "You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have taken off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy so that my soul may praise you and not be silent. O Lord, my God, I will thank you." In these Psalms, one is coming out of the storm, right? God has finally just protected somebody. He just delivered you. You just actually received the good news. The pain of the past may still be present, but one is not in that immediate situation no more. Ultimately, in these Psalms or our season of life, that's when things are changing and becoming better again. So as you all see, right, those Psalms, when we open up the Bible and read them, they really do kind of match the ebb and flow of life, right? The good times, the bad times. You're just now coming out of something, but things are starting to turn. You may see God a little bit more clearly than what you did before. So just to get your thoughts on it, what strikes us about the various life experiences that are present in the Psalms? What strikes us about the life experience that we see that's present in the Bible, right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think for myself, when reading that, when kind of sitting on that, especially as a young adult, like we're constantly going through so many different things in our lives, and we're going through these ebbs and flows, not just in our relationship with God, but just in our personal lives as well. Yeah. As you were speaking, I wrote something down. I was like, the struggle is to purify us and to strengthen our relationship with God. And I think that's really important because in any relationship, you're going to have conflict, and that's okay. And I think the conflict is what actually strengthens that relationship. It forms that dependency, so to say, right? And I think that's what God is allowing to happen. Because even in Psalms chapter 18, verse 30, God's way is perfect, right? And so I think even in that, that's God allowing for things to take place in our life in order for us to fall back on his will and kind of challenging us in that way.
So you're viewing it as that the moments of struggle, of challenge, of difficulty, that those are opportunities for God to kind of reveal God's self in new ways for us to see God new and in fresh and clear ways.
I think we should look at it as a gift, right? Like if God is going to bless us and we accept that, then the struggles that he bestows upon us, like that's also a gift. And I know sometimes it may not necessarily feel that way, right? But I think when the more we work in that relationship with God, and I'm just speaking for myself, the more I have faith in knowing that I will come out of this. So it's not like the end all be all, because I know this is a test, and then at the end I will come out on the end because of my faith in God. So I think it's just how we position our hearts and our minds in those circumstances.
I think you have a good viewpoint, and also interesting for a lot of people, right? Who because the truth is those times are difficult, right? And you want to escape it, but often might not fully consider that those are also times where God is trying to develop something in you. God is trying to show something. Maybe God is trying to get your attention in new and fresh ways, or maybe God is just trying to show you something about your own self. Or show something about God in that. So no, thank you for that, Reggie. Others, what strikes you about the various life experiences that are present in the Psalms?
I think to piggyback off of what Reggie said, it's a test. And so when you find yourself in those moments of distress and you're like, I don't know, left from right or up from down, I think it's really important to really hone in on your relationship with God and try to figure out, like, okay, what can I learn from this situation? Like, God, what is the test that what is the lesson in this season that you're trying to get me to understand, so that I can, go through those seasons and get back to the new orientation of, thank you, God, for bringing me through this. And, Reggie was speaking personally, for me, it really hit in my professional life because, Psalm 8, I was happy. I'm like, thank you, Lord. Everything's going great. And then it hit and I'm like, whoo, wait a minute, and so from that, once I understood that this is a test, I changed my way of thinking and the situation started to turn.
So I've heard now twice very positive things about, I guess, when you're going to this disoriented view in life. Now let's ask a question. It's a spontaneous question, so don't get mad at me for it. But I think it's a necessary question that we got to wrestle with. Would you say that every disoriented season, that there's always a purpose, that there's always God being responsible for it, or that there's something you're supposed to take away from it?
I don't know, but I'm gonna say no. And the reason I'm gonna say that is because even in this book, right, it's saying, my enemies are against me. They're surrounding me from that standpoint. I don't think God is always trying to necessarily teach something in those moments. I think life happens. We're humans, things happen. So I wouldn't say that. But I think, again, it comes down to us in our relationship, right? Like, I think it's, I'd rather be prepared in the mindset of, hey, I'm leaning on God and there's something I can learn from this, as opposed to not approaching it from that standpoint,
Right. So I agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily always a test, but there's always a lesson in it.
That's right.
So, you're going through it and you're like, oh, why? Like, who could benefit from, what I'm going through? And then it's like that moment happens in a spontaneous conversation that you're having with someone and you're like, you know what? This is why I went through what I went through, so that I could, use my testimony to help someone else who's going through.
Okay. I just want to ask that question because I know somebody online may have that question. Is it that there's always some deeper meaning, right, to the disorientation? Tiara, how about you?
For me, I feel like it's purpose in everything. So I may be the opposite, where I look for the deeper meaning. So I feel like changing my perspective, that helps me get through a lot of things. So if I have a stubborn point of view about something, when I try to go and research for like a deeper meaning that changed how I feel about that situation. And then I'm able to get through it, or I'm able to bear it more, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Got you. Well, y'all have offered some great takes on these. As you see, the Psalms is filled with just how life is, and we resonated with it because the Psalms literally match what we're going through. Every last one of us is either in a disoriented season, we're in a orientated season where things are just going good, or we just now coming up out of something. Now, I will say the one thing about orientation is that you are heading towards disorientation. That's the thing. You don't stay in no season forever,
Right.
and you often move there unwillingly. So I think that's the thing, and the thing we got to realize, God isn't always the one to take us there. Sometimes people are just people. Humanity is just humanity. We are subject, honestly, to unjust systems and structures, and sometimes we move to disorientation because of policy, because of people mistreatment, things of that sort. So let's move on to lament. I know let's talk about lament. This question actually came from, I was at a conference and I just kind of thought to myself, wow, I think us in the Western world, we have a very bad view of suffering and honestly lament. It's almost as if we escape it. So in a lecture, my Old Testament professor said that laments are urgent if we care about real relationship with God and others. In the article about lamenting, the writer writes, we learn from biblical laments that it is imperative to name what is wrong with as much precision and honesty as possible, even if it hurts and causes us to wince. From the Psalms to Joel to the cross, laments tell the truth of the suffering that is smothering our worthiness, our dreams, our ability to work toward a better tomorrow. And then the writer goes on to say that by naming the things, we can address them rather than simply surviving them. I'm going to say that again. By naming the things that's wrong, we can address them rather than simply surviving them. Sidebar, I heard Dr. Philip Pointer in a sermon say, denial is not deliverance. Just because you deny it don't mean that you're delivered from it. If you deny you have a headache, the headache's still going to be there. You're not delivered from the headache. It didn't go away. You feeling that headache. If your situation is not where you want it to be, you can't trick yourself and say this situation is good. It's really not. And you can't really move on from it or even heal from it without naming it. But they're going to say, but it's through the naming that we realize, one, that humanity, we're all in this thing called life together. Yeah. Lamenting is simply this: naming and addressing the things that need to change in our lives. That's simply what lamenting is. Lamenting is not about helplessness, but it's about hope. In the article, Lament as a Necessary Step Toward Healing, the author writes this, quote, the spiritual practice lament acknowledges the source of hope. Lament helps the people of God to find hope even in the midst of suffering, end quote. When we lament or acknowledge the things that need to change in our lives and society, we are just simply expressing our hope and trust in God to change things. When we lament, we are honestly recognizing that everything is not all right because things are truthfully not where they need to be. So let's have a discussion. What are we currently lamenting in this season?
I mean, I feel like as Black people, we've always been lamenting, trying to find some sort of peace and balance in our lives.
Yeah.
But I say as young adults, I think it's, especially for me, like with a young child, it's like, what does the future look like from that standpoint with this economy?
Yeah.
You might be doing okay, but what about your family members, right? Like, how do you help out with them? Where is their stability at? I think there's a lot of things that we struggle with on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes we hold those things internally and carry them silently. And I think that's something that you lament as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, most definitely, Reggie. Thank you for that. I think you named the necessary truth. You having a child and you just kind of having um, that concern over what does the
Mhm.
future look like for your son.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of a reading that I read where writer wrote that she just simply wants her children to grow up to be free,
Mm.
to be free, but even deeper than free, to be liberated.
Mm.
Because liberated is a little more, it's everlasting, whereas freedom is kind of temporary because it can always be rolled back.
Yeah.
But liberation
Yeah.
is what she was wanting for her son. So thank you for that, Reggie.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's a nice call lament. Others, what are you all currently lamenting in this season?
For me, I would probably say just the uncertainty of
Mm,
everything.
mhm.
Personally, the uncertainty with my career, the uncertainty with the status of the economy.
Yeah.
Like you said, you see layoffs every day, every week. You seeing people that was relying on a job now have to visit food banks just to get their daily needs. So I just feel like it's currently just the uncertainty of everything.
Yeah. It still ain't go down. Stuff got more. So I ordered a pizza for y'all today, and I was like, this thing got more expensive. The large pizza, good lord, that thing went up a couple dollars. But it's real though. Yeah, that the money piece brings a lot of people worry. You try not to think about it, but you really can't escape it. So that's a real big lament. I think for me, one thing I'm lamenting is just this. I don't know. I'm a big person of ethics and morality, and I'm lamenting the loss of that.
Mhm.
I'm lamenting the loss of mutual respect.
Mm.
I'm lamenting the loss. I mean, I'm lamenting the fact that every disagreement we have, it always leads to division.
Yeah.
That it always turns into this battle to see who hate each other most. Right? It's humanity. We really are connected more than what we think, and we do a terrible job at recognizing one's own common humanity. I'm lamenting that we don't kind of view each other as worthy. We take away human dignity from one another. I think that's just kind of the things that's weighing on my heart right now. How about you, Kelly?
I think for me, it's I did everything, they told me to do. I went to school, I climbed the corporate ladder, but the goalpost continues to move. And it's getting harder and harder to reach the goals that I have set for myself.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I have to step back and look at the things that I do have. And so, I'm like, God, you brought me this far, and, I have my basic necessities. And so from that, I'm able to find solace, but it's really, the goalpost continuously moving.
But you're expressing hope. That was going to lead me to the next question, but I'm just going to go ahead and name it. You're expressing the fact that you have seen God move.
Yeah.
That you are still seeing God's hand in your life. So let's go there. What are we currently hoping for in this season, right? Because when lamenting is not just merely addressing it, but it's also saying what we're hoping God for. So what are we hoping for? And by the way, we're all right now engaging in the spiritual practice of lamenting. Right? We're kind of like the prophets in the Old Testament, as they were great at lamenting. They just simply said, this king sucks. Right? But better days is coming. And we know how better days should be looking. So one, I want you to acknowledge we're engaging in the spiritual practice of lament right now. And I encourage you all to do that daily. Right? Do it daily. All right. So what are we currently hoping for?
For me, clarity. I think I'm in a season where I just ask God just to present me clarity. That goes with me being uncertain about a lot of things. So it's like definitely I'm seeking that clarity. Am I on the right path? Like Kelly said, the goalposts just keep moving. So you like, am I even on the right path? God, do you even want me to do this? Do I supposed to be even trying to reach this goal? Do you have something else in store for me? So I guess the clarity.
That's good. Yeah, just need God to speak. Need God to reveal. Right, need God to give direction. I like that. That's a good It's a good hope.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to like express this, but I think for me, and I think it's kind of something we've all kind of been talking about, is our frustration is really in like, we know we're capable, but it's just like the opportunity isn't there,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, for me, like, what am I hopeful for? Like, I don't know, like, it's the opportunity, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, come on, you know, that's, I don't know, man. But then I'm back lamenting again, so.
Well, I mean, lamenting is still, hope is a key aspect of lament.
Yeah,
So, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but that's also, so you just need the system to work in certain ways.
Yes.
But we know that won't happen. So
Right.
it's like,
But that's the importance of hope.
but
Right.
Okay, so this
What
this
do we
is
do with the hope?
right.
I guess.
Because
Yeah.
it's a good question.
Yeah.
well, here's the
Hold on
thing.
to it.
Well,
How long we hold it?
I think, okay, so you asked a very good question, but I think there are ways and things we can do with the hope.
Mm.
The thing is, one, you can't grow numb to the reality that you're in. Right? Don't just start accepting it. That's the importance of lament. You don't accept where you are. You keep recognizing this thing as abnormal.
Yeah.
Right. You don't normalize the hatred. You don't normalize the lack of opportunity.
Yeah.
And then there is the very real practical piece of, if I'm hoping for it, how might God be calling me to play a practical part in opportunities to come? Is God calling me to be a little more vocal in this season?
Yeah.
Is God calling me to advocate for myself in this season? Is God calling me to have critical conversations with upper management so that the door can be, or is God just saying, tell me the heck with this, we need to just leave? I think there are practical things, practical ways to act on the hope, right? Because hope is not just a mere feeling. Hope is very much physical. I would dare say you don't really have hope until you start actually physically moving towards it, right? You start doing something. The point is, again, with lament and hope, it's not to feel helpless. The problem is, when we have hope, a lot of us do feel helpless. We feel stuck, but we're not really stuck, because there's always something we might be able to do. Now, that's not to acknowledge the truth that the system might be working against us.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're just in this tight little box and can't move, right? So I think, one, that requires clarity. It requires discernment. God, what's the right actions in this season, right? What's the right things that we should be doing so that opportunity can come?
Yeah.
Or is it really that we might just have to sit back and watch you do something? Because the other part of it is that sometimes God might be calling you to just be patient.
It's true.
Now, that doesn't mean acceptance. It just means maybe you need to just sit back and let God clear some stuff out the way until you can act, right? So, but again, that requires clarity.
Yeah.
So it's a living hope. It's an active hope. That's the word. It's active hope. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's still difficult.
Oh yeah.
To reside in it. Yeah. So yeah, it's not an easy thing. Yeah. It's not an easy thing. And any more thoughts? Any more thoughts? All right. So we talked about lament. We engaged in the spiritual practice of lament. I encourage all of our viewers, lament. Feel. Don't rob yourself of the opportunity to feel. God, one of the greatest things God has given us are emotions, right? Not to be static human beings. Don't deny yourself of the opportunity to feel. And when you do feel, we're going to get to it in a little bit, find healthy places that you can use to cope, to bring some joy into your life, to release and decompress. So let's move to this hustle culture thing, because one of the things that about life for young adults, right? Best of times, worst of times, we have opportunities. We may have doors that may be open. We may be able to get jobs that our parents may have not been able to get. However, hustle culture also is a very real factor of, all right, the minute you get the job, you need to be working 56 hours a week, right? You need to work more than full time. Matter of fact, overtime is your full time, right? In a sermon, Dr. Powery, who is the dean of Duke Chapel, he said these words: hustle culture survives because we secretly admire it. It's almost as if hustling is perceived to be holy, or exhaustion to be a sign of excellence, or busyness to be an emblem of brilliance. I like that. Something about that hustle culture survives because we secretly admire it. I feel like it pinched a nerve when he said it, but I feel like it's pinching my nerve a little bit. So, question: why is hustle culture so enticing and tempting?
For me, it gives me a sign of feeling productive,
Mm.
feeling like I have a purpose. If I'm not doing anything, I feel stuck. I feel like I'm just lacking in some areas. So hustling, that's a sign of you're being productive.
Mm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the illusion of uh, productivity,
Yeah.
right? I don't just because you're busy all the time, it doesn't necessarily equate to success or you're getting achieving goals and things like that. But I personally don't admire hustle culture.
Me either.
It's actually quite annoying for me because I'm not like a hustle and bustle type of person. So when I see it, I'm like, wow, why do you feel like you need to do all of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't been infected with that hustle culture
I have
bug.
my spurts of it.
Mm.
I have like some days I can just be like a hamster on a wheel, just have a checklist, and then some days I'm like, oof, no, rest. So
Balance.
yeah, balance.
Yeah, I think I think the culture has fed us
Mm.
that the harder you work, the more you can have.
Right.
I think that's also a lie. Because there is a very real there is a very real reality that the harder you work, you're actually killing yourself. And also, the harder you work, the more it feel like the thing you are in search of becomes even more impossible to get.
Mm.
So there was a study that was done, and it said one of the effects of that of hustle culture is that you're literally supposed to it'll make you die earlier than what you're supposed to.
Mm.
Right? They did a study on those who kind of hustled, right, working more than one job, giving everything they have to work. Compared to those who kind of didn't and took the more approach of, all right, I'm going to care for myself. I'm going to do what's kind of needed to have joy. And those who hustled, opened them, they had more diseases.
Mm-hmm.
And then they even died earlier than those who didn't hustle. So I think one thing we got to keep into account, the more we give, the more we are actually destroying ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I mean, it's a difficult one for me because I think like just from personal experiences, I think growing up and then like if you have family members or even your parents that had to work multiple jobs to like make things, work, I think you don't view it as like hustling. You view it as like just getting by, and I think you internalize that as you get older. And so for you, you're just like, I don't want to go back to this. So I'm going to grind to make sure I don't go back to this, and so I can provide and those type of things.
Yeah.
But I do wonder like where that switch occurred because I know like for older generations, it was never a hustle culture. It was, we got to do what we got to do versus now with our generation, it's like hustle culture. From that standpoint, so it's this, this balance.
It's a change, like you said. No, I agree. Back in our parents' generation, it was really working to get by.
Yes,
and that's not to say that people these days still aren't actually doing that. Right.
That's right.
For those on the news, air traffic control, they're not getting paid, but they have bills, and now they have to go and drive DoorDash and Uber to literally get by. Right. So that's different.
Yes. Yeah.
But for those of us where hustle culture is like, work extra, work harder, get paid more so that you can live the life that you want to live. Yeah. I think the very real question becomes, well, what is enough for you in life, right?
Yeah.
What does success mean for you?
I think it's trauma though.
It's found,
Do you also feel those that are not doing enough, they are experiencing sickness and things of that sort because they don't have enough resources. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel
most
like
definitely.
the one that's maybe working a 2 job, they are grinding so that they can be able to afford things and have a better life. But those ones that are not, they are still experiencing the same things, such as not experiencing a good life
Yeah.
or
That's right.
having their struggles,
Most
can't get
definitely.
by.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's I think what we're doing is just residing in the complexity of being human
Mhm.
in this society, right? Those realities, some people are working extremely hard and giving their all to everything and they still don't have enough.
Yeah.
And again, it's just subject to systems in humanity.
Yeah.
Right? Unjust practices, unfair practices. The big person at the top reap all the benefits while us who's doing the hard work on the bottom ain't seeing nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Y'all get to bring all the brilliant ideas to the Fortune 500 boardroom. I was just reading about this in the article of the person that took over Disney. When the owner died for 40 years, but it was he took all the work from the people at the bottom doing the difficult work. He brought it to the boardroom and said, look at what we're doing. It's just that reality that, right, those who work hard still don't have enough. So I think that's a great point here that, reality is you can work hard and still not have.
Yeah.
Whereas you do have the other side of people that you work hard and then the question do become, well, what's enough for you, right? Are you really going to wear yourself out trying to build up a wealth of resources? And it's just a part of being human. It's complex. It's difficult. It sucks. Yes, the system needs to change. But unfortunately, this is what we have to live in.
Yeah.
But that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Another question, because it's a great discussion, and we really have about 15 minutes left. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about one more question dealing with hustle culture. Then we're going to move on to resistance and self-care. As we are journeying towards our dreams, goals, and objectives, what is the importance of knowing God's calling and plans for your life in relation to hustle culture? What's the importance of knowing God's calling and plans for your life? I think one of those things is it helps you to know that everything that you may want may not necessarily be what's in God's plans for you. I think a lot of us, we're working towards a lot. We're chasing a lot. And truthfully, God has not called us to occupy every space. Our names aren't supposed to be in every room. Right? We're not supposed to have everything. We're not supposed to be everywhere. So I think it brings a larger awareness of a little bit of satisfaction and fulfillment of our identity is not in this thing, but it's in the fact that God still reigns supreme and that I'm a healthy human being. And of course, this question is taking into account opposite of what you had mentioned here of those hustling and still not having enough. Right. This question is assuming you hustling and you putting your identity in this thing, trying to just seek up resources, trying to just get more and more and more. So others, what's the importance of knowing God's calling and plans for our life? So we have, it kind of helps you to find a sense of fulfillment and awareness or satisfaction in what God is calling you to do, or where God is calling you to be. Is there something else?
I think it just goes back to what I said earlier as far as the clarity and adding in discernment, where you can be able to hear God plans for your life so that you can know, like, hey, this idea that I'm thinking about, it may not be for me, or I'm not supposed to be in this room. I'm not supposed to take this job or take this opportunity. So I think it just goes back to that clarity piece.
And it's an honest self-realization you got to have, right? You got to do some inward self-discovery.
Yeah.
I remember when I was about to graduate, dude, one thing that sounded so good was Eric Edwards' PhD. I love it. Eric Edwards, Doctor of Philosophy, Eric D. Edwards. It sounded so good. And the hardest thing that I had to face was when I literally had to deal with God saying, "But that's not what I want for you."
Mm. Mm.
I was attracted to the letters and the prestige. I loved it. Eric Edwards. I was like, I'm a black man with a PhD. I can see myself now,
Yeah.
30 years old. You know, I'd be graduating with the PhD. And I do some self-discovery, and it's like, that's not what God is calling me to do. That's not God's plans for my life. I'm more attracted to the letters than I am the work that I can do with the degree. That's how I know God is not calling me to it. It's for me. It's self-seeking. It does not help the community at all.
But God had to allow you to do that in order for you to determine
Yeah.
and figure that out, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. God had to allow me to face my own pride.
Yes.
And boy, is that humbling.
Very humbling.
That's humbling. That's humbling.
That's similar to earlier this year. I had took a position and I was making the most I ever made. And God just told me, you're not supposed to be here. And he made it very clear where the work responsibilities and just the work environment just became so toxic that I had to take a pay cut. I had to leave the money on the table for my own sanity. And I was telling my friend, I was like, this has been such a humbling year because God knew that wasn't for me because I was chasing it for the wrong reason. I saw the dollar signs.
Yeah.
I just saw the opportunity of, the money, and God was like, no, you're not supposed to be there. And I had to be obedient. Yeah.
That's real. It is difficult recognizing that, right?
Yes.
And not just recognizing.
Tell me one more time. Like,
right. Like, send a little bit more to make sure that you really
make
call it
thunder,
to
if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Yeah. The difficult thing, not just recognizing, but then accepting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Accepting it. But in the process, you come to figure out you're better off without it.
Yeah. I had so much peace once.
Hello.
The peace you get from not having that thing you thought you wanted.
The peace you get from obedience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Last thing. Let's move on to self-care and resistance because we have 10 minutes left and it's time to finish up. So in this season, what do we need to resist so that we can care for ourselves?
Following the culture.
Expound.
Just trying to be everything and be everywhere.
Yeah. Don't have FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah. That's good.
Create your own path and really define things for yourself. It's one thing to say, oh, that looks fun, maybe I should try that, but to really just hone in on what is self-care, what does that look like for me, how can I practice it. I think some of my self-care is unconventional. Like I like scrolling on TikTok. And for me, that is relaxing. I don't have to, I like to laugh. And so those videos are funny to me. Another form of self-care is not responding to the 20 or 30 reels my mother sends me a day, So I think it looks different for everybody. And it's not like a one size fits all. So, if going for a walk is self-care, do that. It really is what brings you joy and what can maybe calm you down in a moment of stress or something like that. So that's some of my self-care.
Yeah, that's good. Now you picked up something that I think is important, doing what's good for you. Because doom scrolling is attractive. And it's fun. You just start finding all these funny videos and you just like, let me see another one. And somehow you do find yourself in a little bit more relaxed state. But the thing about it is just finding what works for you. And you mentioned, what did you mention about the identity, or you don't have to be like everybody else?
You don't have to be everywhere.
You don't have to be everywhere.
Trying to be everything.
The fear of missing out, like Kelly said. You don't have to be everywhere in every circle, at every event. Sometimes you just need to lay down.
Yeah.
So sometimes I understood that as a child.
Never, literally, I am begging for a nap now.
So sometimes you just need to lay down, just relax, just Be bored.
But
Yes.
you know, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I don't know if it's a thing as a man or something I just embody personally. But as far as self-care, what gives me relaxation is knowing that my family is taken care of. So then that goes back to the whole hustle culture conversation thing. But that's what gives me peace, knowing that my family is good.
It's fatherhood talking.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Oftentimes, men will not prioritize self-care compared to women. So,
men, we do a bad job at self-care.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a bad job at self-care. I think men got to do better, which leads me to the next question. How can we be unapologetic about rest and caring for ourselves?
Boundaries.
Very good answer. Boundaries.
What y'all mean by that, though?
I say no.
Oh, yeah.
And, I don't care what emotion comes from the person. But, it takes a long time to, figure out your boundaries and kind of stick to them. You're like, oh, well, I haven't seen them in a long time. And it's like, you know what? No, if I don't want to go, I'm just not going at this point, And
the thing we have to not be guilty about, boundaries goes for everyone. Your parent, your siblings. Because how can you pour into others if you're empty? So that's kind of what I go by when I set that boundary and try not to be guilty about it. I'm like, no, I just don't have the capacity.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great word. Knowing what's in your capacity. Knowing what you can and can't do. Knowing if what you're going to give yourself to, if it's going to wear you out more, or if you actually have the energy and the ability to give yourself to it. That's so important. On a daily basis, I urge you to do a check-in with yourself. What can I do? Not what do I feel like doing, but truthfully, what can you do? Will you be drained after you have another phone conversation for tonight? Maybe you should send a text message and just be honest.
It's hard.
I'm tired.
Therapist.
It's hard being everybody's therapist. Yeah. Can you keep giving yourself in the capacity that other people are requiring you to give? What boundaries do you need to erect? And only you can answer that. What boundaries do you need to put up in place? In an interview, Reverend Aisha Brooks Johnson, who's the executive presbyter of Greater Atlanta, says that play or engaging in fun activities is a spiritual practice. Having fun and enjoying life is also a spiritual practice in discipline. I think a lot of us view our leisure time as separate than time with God. See, I think a lot of us has trapped time with God to just reading the Bible and prayer and church, in ministry, and doing what God has called us to do. But we also don't take into account that we can have meaningful time with God and that we can honor God the best as well when we're playing and caring for ourselves. So how can moments of self-care, play, and rest lead to transformative encounters with God? Well, one, it allows you to encounter God in new and fresh ways. It allows you to encounter God in new and fresh ways. It allows you to see God different. Invite God in your time of play, right? God, come with me on this trip. God, come with me to this museum. Come with me as I partake in this activity or do this thing. Ultimately, I still want your will to be done while we're here, but maybe show me you. Right? Bring somebody up. Let's have an interesting conversation that may bring some joy to my day. That's God appearing to you right there. God is present in the play. But I think one of the things we need to do more is realize is that we honor God the best when we care for ourselves. Well, I won't say the best because there's multiple ways in which we honor God, but we really do honor God when we care for ourselves, when we do play, when we do actually partake in the healthy and the wholesome events, when we are doing something that brings us enjoyment and happiness. So I think that's one way. Just a couple ways how moments of self-care and rest can lead to transformative encounters with God. It's saying that God, you can still reach me and speak to me outside of prayer, devotion, Bible study, and worship. Because to do that is to just limit God to those areas, and God is bigger than that. And that's for you to say that God can only meet me here. Now you place a restriction and box around God.
I like that.
So that's that. Any thoughts about this?
So for me, self traveling is one of my self care. And when I'm traveling, I'm always praying for coverage and all of that from God. And oftentimes I end up meeting people, or someone always approach me, and after just talking to me, they're like, "You have such good energy. You have such like a good aura." And then we just kind of communicate and find out we have something in common. Then we just connect either on social media or something. And I believe that's one of God's ways of expanding my circle, expanding my connection. So I agree that you can see God in anything. You can see God in anywhere. And that's one of my self-care. That's one of my activities. And I see God in it.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Reggie, like your wheels turning over there.
I was just thinking about what she was saying. So that's all.
Well, that's good, Tierra. Thank you for that. Well, fam, we are at our time. This has been an absolutely great discussion. It's our prayer that you have kind of found a little more clarity on what it means to be human during this time, that you even resonated with the thoughts that we shared, but that even you hopefully have taken some things away that can give you some hope as we continue to live in this confusing yet kind of hopeful time. So with that, fam, listen, we thank you all for joining us. Next month it is Ask the Pastor. Pastor will be here on the hot seat, and boy, do we have some questions for him. So join us on November 19th, the third Wednesday in November, that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving, and we will be back here at 6:30 sharp, asking Pastor and asking him some of the questions that we have about this world, about the life of faith, and about God. But until then, may God bless you and keep you, and we'll see you next month.